This is a new thing Zoom is doing that I need to figure out how to change. Just starting yesterday, it's like it talks when I hit the record button. They did an update on Zoom. I don't know if you noticed your Zoom looks a little different, so I've got to work on that. But anyway, other than that, the fact that that startles me, go ahead and come to a comfortable position to begin the practice. A lot of times people will take their legs up the wall, up the chair, up the bed, up the table, or lie over pillows, blankets, blocks, or just lie on the earth. Or again, you can sit in meditation. If you want to begin movement, then that's also totally fine. We have been talking about Sutra 1.20, talking about the qualities, the virtues, sometimes referred to as the fivefold path, that says for most of us, if we follow these specific sort of virtues in our practice, we will experience the goal states of yoga. We will absolutely be able to feel into the absorption and clarity that comes with consistency in this practice, why we come to this practice. And so we're on the third virtue, the third quality on this sort of fivefold journey. And the first one was Shraddha, which is faith. So we come to this practice usually on someone else's faith, but then we have to develop our own. In yoga, in order to experience samadhi, it has to come from you. You have to develop faith in yourself, in this practice, in the consistency of your practice. When we start to experience this faith, we activate virya, which is the confidence, the life force, the energy, the radiance that comes from this practice. And it's also the energy that keeps us coming back to the practice so that we can go deeper and sustain it. And so now we get to the third quality, which is Smriti. And Smriti is translated as memory, recollection, and mindfulness. It comes up earlier in the sutras, 1.6, I think, when it talks about the functions of the mind. And Smriti is one of the functions of the mind because it is the memory. But in the context of Sutra 1.20, we sort of take it a little bit further into having the ability to recollect our experiences of faith and energy. We are able to start to develop that mindfulness to stay on the course. And so mindfulness has some other definitions and translations, especially if you explore Buddhism and other aspects that are specific to meditation. Yoga philosophy has its own sort of interpretations. And that's the thing, is that there's never just one answer to these practices. And these are concepts that are thousands of years old and have been through thousands of bodies and thousands of minds. And so again, we each interpret them personally for us. And that's always, again, part of this path of yoga, is you need to do the work so that you can interpret and translate and embody these practices in your own way. And so for me, a lot of times what happens with Smriti, right, is that, so there's always a buildup whenever we're working with the 8-limb path or the chakra system or any of these like systematic philosophies. There is a building, right? It's like, it's not just individualized, it's not just symptomatic. So when we get to recollection, we have connected to faith. We have accessed our energy. And now those give us this surge to start to move deeper into being mindful that we are staying on the path. And so as you settle into this opening position, and so part of why I said like start in yogi's choice is that there's an immediate recollection of like, oh, I like this pose, right? When I say yogi's choice, some of you might not even have thought about it. You just immediately put your legs up the wall or lay down on the mat or however that worked for you, because you have that memory when the teacher says yogi's choice, start in a pose, your body's like, I like this. Right? Like this is the place where I start to access that memory of this practice. This is where I start to tap into the faithfulness of this practice. This is where I start to energize. And when we allow the mind, so we know the mind has different functions, we know the mind has different wavelengths, right? There's all these different things happening in the brain that we now know due to neuroscience, due to our Western anatomy. And so the phase that we're in Smriti is very much this presence around having the experience we want to have, right? We're very mindful that we are in our yoga practice, and we want to be in our yoga practice. We want to continue to do the practice. We want to feel the benefits of the practice. We want to remember how good it feels to be in the body, to move, to stretch, to breathe, to work through discomfort. And even if we have a memory of an injury or an illness or an ailment, we focus on the memory of feeling good. And so sometimes we use Smriti to like remember the future. So a lot of you are familiar with bhavana work, especially if you've worked with Christy. So this is also some of the work we do with Smriti. It's like we remember the future. It's like we remember feeling good a month from now, 5 years from now. And the mind doesn't know the difference, right? Like the mind doesn't actually know if it's remembering yesterday or tomorrow, because it's just going to do what you focus on. And that's why mindfulness is so important. Really choosing where to focus your attention. That's one of my favorite definitions of yoga, is the ability to choose and focus your attention, because there's always so many things pulling at us. There's so many memories, there's so many experiences, there's so many things like that are happening. We get to choose what to remember. And as always with yoga, it's discernment, because a lot of us can do the rose-colored glasses thing, right? Where we only remember something good and we don't look at the other aspects of it. So again, yoga really is about a process. And so we may remember how a pose felt good and then we get hurt and it didn't, and then we had to like evolve the pose or create a new pose. And so as we move through this sequence, and part of why this particular quality was really important to me this week is that on Wednesday we have a full moon total eclipse in the energy of mutable fire, which is the storyteller, which is belief systems. And so this full moon week is a really important time to examine our belief systems, to examine our stories, to figure out which ones we want to kind of burn away and which ones we want to remember. And remember in the sense that we're putting something back together, to remember something, to recollect. We're collecting and gathering. And so as we tune into the practice this week, the hope is that we can carry this mindfulness through this pretty intense, full moons are intense and a total lunar eclipse is intense. You can actually see it from the Americas. It starts around 2 a.m. Pacific time and goes through 5 a.m. So from this side, you can see it. But so really allowing yourself to take the time this week to remember both the past and the future. To think about, again, what are the qualities, what are these virtues that you want to focus on in your body, in your practice, in your goals, in your life, and how do we want to remember that in the future? How do we want to create these new stories? How do we want to create these new belief systems, and then just let go of the ones that no longer serve the path? Take a deep, deep breath in. Fill the body up. Hold at the top. And then open mouth, exhale. And then again, take a deep, deep breath in, fill all the way up, hold. Open mouth, exhale. Last time, take a deep, deep breath in, hold, squeeze the face, squeeze the hands, squeeze the belly, squeeze the body, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Exhale, let it go. And now start to breathe and move. So moving from memory, start to move the body from whatever position you're in. And if you're initially like, wait, what? Like, take some breaths. Take some breaths and just maybe start with a gentle rock, a gentle shift. Soften your eyes. So when we're talking about Smriti and this mindfulness, there is a quality of turning in. There's a softening of the gaze. And so we want to move through this practice from this mindfulness space of creating the story of our practice based on our recollection, our remembering of what feels good in the body. Now, we might find it doesn't necessarily feel good right now, but we can start to explore and again, continue to remember. So I promise I will give you some specific cues, but for the first few minutes, I just want you to start to really feel into the body. Feel into the breath, start to feel into movement. And it might be really tiny movements, wiggling your fingers, your toes, rocking your head, shifting side to side. You might find that, like, I don't really want to move at all. My memory is how nice it feels to just lie here and relax. And that's what I want to carry into this week, into this time. There have been studies done where they've worked with patients going through injuries. And if the one patient can remember all these good times they've had and then see themselves doing it in the future. So someone who had like a back injury and they were like, I remember when I could carry my kids and we could run, and then they're like seeing themselves doing that in the future, they heal faster. So like memory is really, really powerful, and our perception of it is even more powerful. So stay with the breath, stay with the memory, the felt sense of the body. And again, you can just keep it really simple. I mean, you can start doing jumping jacks. Maybe you remember a time that jumping jacks felt really good in your body. I don't actually remember any of that, but I've never really been a big cardio person. That's why I love yoga. And so I remember, I still to this day, at a week and a half away from turning 38, I remember the first time I took a yoga class, and it was the first time I'd ever done anything physical that I liked, that like felt good, like inside out. Do you remember your first yoga class? Do you remember what you liked about it? Do you remember what kind of intrigued you or inspired you? Maybe it was a pose, maybe it was someone in the place, maybe it was the teacher, maybe it was just the experience. Stay with your breath. We're going to stay with this a little bit longer because again, I want to sort of infuse your movement with your memory. Do you remember having a favorite yoga class? A favorite yoga experience? Maybe you've had several. And again, was it about the pose? Was it about your body? Was it about the community, the space, the teacher, the teachings? I remember the first time I started hearing Sanskrit, and I would go up to the teacher after class and say, what is the Sanskrit for this pose? And what is this? And eventually it was this teacher who was like, have you ever thought about doing a teacher training? And I was like, well, I've only been doing yoga a few months, and I'm an actress, actually, after all. I'm not a yoga teacher. And she was like, well, but if you did a training, then you would just know. Like you would just like know. I think I was bugging her, was actually what was happening. And that, again, I'm someone who always likes to know. And so in my practice, learning about my body, learning about my breath, learning the history, learning the philosophy, learning the language. So again, just indulge me a little bit longer. Continue to move, continue to breathe. Let yourself go on this physical, mental, emotional journey through recollecting your yoga practice. And while we can apply this quality to other goals in our lives, we start here. What was your favorite pose? What's your favorite pose now? Do you have one? Could you do that shape safely over these next few breaths? Do one of those shapes. Because it's important that it's not just the mind, right? Like we want to see it, taste it, feel it. So if you've ever done bhavana work, you write it out like it's happening right now. And you may like, okay, I'm going to do this pose. I feel comfortable doing it right now. And then it may not feel the same today, and that's okay. You can breathe into it. You can shift, you can move, come into something else. So that's another important thing, is that we don't allow the past, right, to get attached to that, where it's like, well, I'm going to do this pose even if it hurts me because it was my favorite, right? Like that's not Smriti. That's something else. So we're going to be here for a few more breaths, a little bit longer. Just giving yourself this journey through your memory of yoga, through and even your memory of the body. So if you're newer to yoga, do you remember feeling good moving your body? Do you remember feeling good in your skin? Was there a movement? Maybe you were a dancer. Maybe you were in the military and you had that energy in the body that felt good. It felt powerful, felt strong. We talked about the warrior energy last week. So just 2 more minutes of breathing, moving, recollecting, remembering. And when we create this space in the mind, we then become more mindful. We become mindful of how we want to feel, how we want to move. We become more mindful of our perception. I'll be quiet for the last minute of this. Cultivating retentive power, Smriti, the power to recollect, is the third prerequisite for success in spiritual practice. We all experience moments of high aspiration. Some of us are vigilant enough to take advantage of those moments, while others simply let them vanish. These inspired moments are precious. Invest them wisely. When the distractions and pressures of daily life are undercutting your inspiration, revisit the moments of high aspiration in your past. Recollect when and how you started your journey. Recall how clear your goal was at the time you began, and think about how sad it feels when you drop your quest midway. Cultivate your retentive power by recollecting, remembering these inspired moments and allowing them to reinvigorate your practice. Take a big, big breath in wherever you are and sigh it out. Take the next few breaths to come up to stand, since I know a lot of you are still laying down. Take it nice and slow. And I feel that. A lot of my happiest yoga memories are lying down. Find your mountain, this mountain made of Smriti, memory, recollection, mindfulness. And just notice how you feel, having taken a little bit of time to sort of process this quality, to feel into it. And again, those moments of aspiration, those moments where we feel in our goal state, we feel present, we feel connected, we feel good. And again, it's not about chasing that, because it can be a sickness to feel like you have to feel good all the time. This is intended as a tool to support you on your path when you lose energy and faith, right? This is the retentive power to remember who you are and why you are doing what you're doing. And sometimes when we do this tool, we realize that we're actually not on the right path anymore, and it's actually time to change the goal. Pressing down through your feet, inhale, sweep the arms to the sky, reaching for that almost full moon. Exhale, hands to heart. Soften the knees, inhale, sweep it up, reaching up. Exhale, hands to heart. We'll do that 3 more times, toning the sound Om, or you can just breathe. Inhale. Om. Om. Inhale, reach it up. As you exhale, take your thumbs to your third eye, gently pressing into the mind space. Soften the gaze, bow to your power of recollection, your power to remember, your power to utilize this tool to support you here and now in creating this new story and releasing any outdated belief systems or ideals. Take a big breath in. Exhale, release the hands. Inhale, reach up, soft knees. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold, Uttanasana. Put a bend in your knees if you need it, or hands to support. Inhale, lengthen up halfway, stretch the spine. Exhale, bow. Inhale, reverse swan dive, reach up, big stretch. Exhale, right arm down the right leg, left arm overhead. Inhale up. Exhale, left arm down. Inhale up. Exhale, forward fold, soft knees as you bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale up. Exhale down, Ardha Surya Namaskar. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach it up. Left arm down the left leg, right arm overhead. Inhale up. Exhale, right arm down, left arm over. Inhale up. Exhale, fold through center. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bring it up. Hands to heart. Good. Again, soften the knees. Inhale, reach up, big stretch. Exhale, forward fold. Pause here in Uttanasana. Shake out the head a little bit. Soften the jaw. Walk out the legs. So this sequence we're going to kind of shift into is more specific to the energy of the full moon. I want to encourage you to continue to work with your own memory, adjusting, modifying, staying in this mindful space. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Soften the knees, sit back into a gentle chair, hands to heart, squeeze the legs, lift up through the chest. So gentle chair means we just bend the knees enough that we feel the quads. We're not creating any tension in the joints. Again, keeping the hands nice and low. Inhale, stretch it up. Right hand to left wrist, reach up and over. Inhale up, switch the clasp, reach up and over. Inhale up, hands to heart, back into that simple chair. So just bending back a little bit, pull the belly and lift the chest. Take a big inhale. Exhale, forward fold, knees soft. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Walk yourself out to downward dog. If down dog is not part of your practice, you can stay in Uttanasana. You can also take a wall dog or come into a child's pose. Knees soft, hips high. Breathing into the spine, into the arms and legs. So this full fire moon is asking us to release outdated belief systems, stories, myth, archetype. This is very much about the power of Smriti, the power to recollect, to remember our future. Take another big breath in. Exhale, lower to all fours. If you can't come to tabletop, you can come to sit. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Inhale, drop the belly, open the chest. Exhale, round it back. A few more cat-cows. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. So this is a fire, full moon. This is the eclipses have pretty long histories. This one's been going for a while. We'll go for another bit longer. But this is the last total lunar eclipse in this. And this total lunar eclipse is released to some of our own cultural stories that are being transformed. So this is a very both individual and collective release. And so we have to do our own work to remember, to recollect, to sort of rewrite how we want to focus and sustain our attention. Hold that cat back, arch back. Breathe. Shift to neutral spine. You can do this from standing as well. Stretch your right leg back and your left arm up. Inhale. Exhale, hug elbow to knee. So you can keep the hand down and just do the lower body. If it's easier, you can come up to stand and you'll just draw the right knee into the chest. If you want, you can turn the left elbow towards the right knee. So you can modify this standing, or if you're in all fours, you can just hug the right knee in, or the left arm and right knee in. So getting into a little bit of fire energy here as it's appropriate. So again, use that power of recollection. So some of that is also remembering, oh yeah, whenever I do too much weight bearing, my neck hurts the next day, right? So sometimes it can protect us. Hold for a moment. And then release, child's pose, or if you're standing, take a forward fold. So again, sometimes we get too caught up in the energy, in the warrior, and we forget that we're also human. We have our challenges. I get that way for sure. Sometimes that recollection helps us to slow down. So that quality of mindfulness. Bring it back to all fours or back to standing. We're just switching sides. So it's either left leg and right arm or just the left leg. Hugging knee to chest. So we're balancing, which is great for the hemispheres of the brain. So getting the brain balanced there. We'll do a little more work on that. And again, you can try this standing or with just the knee. Few more with the breath. Sometimes when we do things like chair or a little bit of core work, we have to use that memory of like, oh, I feel good after this, or the opposite. Go ahead and hold. And then release again, push it back, child's pose or Uttanasana. Slow down the breath. Feel into the body. Feel into the state of the mind. Go ahead and roll yourself forward onto the belly. Tops of the feet down. Place your forehead down, elbows in, thumbs in line with the chest. Push down through the tops of the feet, feet hip width distance. Inhale, low cobra, don't use the arms. Exhale, lower. Inhale, low cobra, don't use the arms. Exhale. One more like that. Inhale, low cobra. Hold. Soften the neck. Hug the elbows in. Press the pelvis down. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift to cobra, your cobra. So feel into your cobra. It can be low cobra, mid cobra, high cobra, but in cobra, we always remember the pelvis stays down, the elbows stay bent. Soften the jaw, take a couple breaths. You can move in and out, stretching out our abdominals, opening the heart. So the fire element in the yin tradition lives in the heart. In the chakra system, it lives in the belly. So this is a great position for that. Big inhale. Exhale, lower down. And then as you're ready, press back up to all fours. Or again, you can come to stand if it's not comfortable to be on all fours. Back to cat-cow. You can also do this from sit. You have a seat. You can also do it standing with the knees bent. So remembering we have options. So many things. And I do love to think of remember as literally RE-member, right? We're remembering, recollecting things that we've known, that we've experienced. And we're allowing them to support us in that vision for the future. Good. So we're going to come back to right leg, left arm up and hold the balance. You can do this standing with the right knee to the chest and the left arm up. Breathe. You can also just use the leg, keep the left hand down. Slow, steady breath, soft gazing point. Mindful balance here. Neck nice and long. Inhale. Exhale, release, going into side two. As you're ready, left leg up, right arm up, or left knee in, right arm up if you're standing, or just left leg up. Balance is really good for the brain. Creates that clarity. We'll start talking more about clarity here pretty soon as we move up through the fivefold path. But again, recollection, retentive power. Big breath. Exhale, lower, coming into puppy dog. So knees under the hips, stick your hips up, and then walk your hands out, lowering to the forehead. Also, you can lower the forearms down or keep the elbows up. If you're standing, you can be in forward fold. You could add a chest expansion. So again, if you can't be on the knees, you can forward fold, clasp the hands, stretch the arms up overhead. And that's also an option if you just don't like puppy dog, if you remember that you don't like this pose. So it works both ways. Remembering our high aspirations and our positive experiences, but also remembering what doesn't serve us too. It's so interesting how as we get further and further away from experiences that have been harmful, we stop seeing them as they were. Right? We're coming from this other place. And so that's sometimes how we end up in situations or patterns that repeat old behaviors is we literally forget, like we re-forget, we forget and we like recollect in a romanticized way. And so this mindfulness, this presence is really trying to bring it into all senses. Take another big breath. Exhale it out. And then if you are in the chest expansion, go ahead and release the hands. If you're in puppy dog, come back up to all fours once again. A few more rounds of cat-cow. And then either pushing back into the downward dog or back into standing forward fold. We'll meet there in a moment. If you're folding over the legs, make sure the toes are forward, knees are soft. And shaking out the head, emptying out any memories, any ideas that no longer serve. Soft knees, go ahead and roll it back up to that mountain. Roll the shoulders at the top, back, and back, and back, and then forward, and forward, and forward. One more. Inhale, squeeze the shoulders up. Exhale, draw them down. Shake out your head a little bit. Drop the left ear to the left shoulder, maybe left hand weights the right side of the head. Reach out through your right fingertips. And then release, bring the head to center, and then a right ear to right shoulder. Maybe that right hand comes up, reach through your left fingertips. Belly in, feet strong. And then release, bring the head to center, and then drop the chin down to the chest. Roll the shoulders back. And then inhale, reach up, neutral gaze. Exhale, hands to heart. Standing firmly in the left leg, go ahead and we'll open the right hip up for tree pose. So placing the foot to the ankle, calf, or inner thigh, you can use support. And so a lot of times too, as we ease into poses, we trigger that memory, right? Of like, oh yeah, I remember doing this modification and doing this, right? The body has muscle memory. So the body literally remembers like everything. And that's a big conversation in yoga as well as in trauma-informed yoga, because the body remembers everything. And yoga, we talk about needing to digest, right? Like the undigested experience. And so Smriti is a way of getting very, very mindfully helping us to process through information, process through our memories, our goals, our aspirations, and very consciously, again, choosing that path of our focus, that path of our healing, so to speak. So as you feel into this balance, sometimes with shaking and rocking and falling, sometimes with steadiness and ease. And take another big breath. And then release. Give a little shake. Feeling balanced this full moon week is very important. Finding our balance. Balance works with the fire element, the stabilization, but also the air energy of the mind. And that's the yoga of this full moon, is the sun is in the air element and then the moon is in the fire element, both in the dissolving qualities of it. So we're dissolving those qualities of fire and air that no longer serve us, or we can get caught up in them. And so we really want to try to not get caught up in them this week, to really have that mindfulness as things come up, as things unfold, as we unpack the effects of this full moon eclipse. Take another big breath. And exhale, release. Shake it out. Bring the feet back to about hip width distance. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale one more time, Uttanasana. Shake it out. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold, bend the knees and lower to your seat. Carefully help yourself down, knees bent. Squeeze the knees together, draw the belly towards the thighs. I said it was a fire moon, so a little more core. You can keep your hands at your hamstrings and start to lean back into baby boat navasana, or lift your arms. Soften your gaze. You can also place your hands down by your sides. Breathe here. So we all have memories of boat pose. And you can lift a leg or both. Take another breath. Maybe create some new memories of boat pose. Inhale. Exhale, lower down, pause. Recollect how good it feels after we do core, right? And again, lift it up. Very gentle boat, or you might play with a little more fire, right? Pull the belly in, lift the chest, soft gaze, soft mouth. So we talked about that warrior quality last week. I thought about aligning it so that the full moon went with that, but that just felt like too much. So this felt more well-rounded. Inhale, exhale, release, rock it out. One more boat, optional, of course, right? Use your mindfulness. And again, it can be little gentle boat, or can lift up, lean back, lift one or both legs, soften the jaw, soften the face, soften the gaze. Come into that mindfulness, feeling the power of the body, the memory of your own strength. Inhale. So we just talked about that last week. Exhale, release. Shake it out. Stretch your left leg out. Keep the right knee in. Wrap the left arm around the right leg. Right hand behind you. Twist. Breathe belly towards thigh. Soften the face and the jaw. Come back to center. Open the right leg to the right. Let the left leg open just a little bit to the left. Left arm down, the left leg, right hand to right hip or up and overhead. Breathe into the side body. You can always put support under the right thigh. The knee feels a little sensitive. You can stay with the side bend or exhale and turn your chest towards the left leg. Janu Shirshasana or Parsva Shirshasana. So sometimes, it's important to turn inward, right? So our forward folds help us to literally turn inward, to let go of the outer stimulation, to come into the inner world. And so during the full moon week, it can affect our sleep a little bit, our energy, our fire element energy is, it can be spiritual, but it can also be aggressive and egoic. So really tending to those spiritual practices this week to temper it. Again, mindfulness, remembering who you are, who you want to be, the work that you're doing, that you've been committed to. Slowly bring it up. Stretch the right leg out, rock your legs out a little bit. Release the hip flexors. And then we'll draw left knee in, heel coming in towards the hip, left hand behind, right arm wraps. Gently shaking out the head, finding a comfortable position for the gaze. Big breath in. Exhale, unwind, open the left leg to the left with or without support. Just slide the right leg a little bit to the right, give yourself some space. Stretch right arm down, right leg. Roll your chest open, or you can stretch the top arm up. Breathe into the side body. Inhale. As you exhale, you can stay with the side bend or draw belly in, fold over the right leg. So it's a little bit of a deeper pose to forward fold here, especially if you've got a little bit of an angle. Just letting yourself turn in a little bit wherever you are. So I do recommend, if you can see the eclipse, to try to see it. The totality is at like 4:12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I don't know, I'm gonna try. It's tricky with the little one, but it's pretty amazing to get to watch. Lunar eclipses are long. I mean, it's hours. Like a solar eclipse is like a minute, right? A couple minutes. But the totality is 14 minutes. So even just somebody, if you witness the whole thing, it's a retrieval. It's considered in shamanic tradition the soul retrieval, because you're basically seeing the whole lunar cycle in that short period of time. So it is very powerful for this process of recollection and remembering in our body, in our cells. Inhale. Exhale. Go ahead and bring it on up, shake it out. And then if you can sit comfortably in Sukhasana, bring the right leg in front. So right leg in front, or just bring the soles of the feet together. Up on your sits bones, and then you can walk it forward. If it's not comfortable to forward fold here, you can just stay seated and do some cat-cow or circles. But otherwise, just getting a little bit of a hip opener. Shake out the head, soften the jaw. So hip openers are always my sort of Smriti go-to for whatever reason. They do connect with our emotional realm. But that was, my first, the pose that really got me hooked on yoga was single pigeon. And to this day, it is a pose that immediately I get that Smriti experience when I go into pigeon. I feel my body, I feel my practice, I feel the history with my body and my practice. And sometimes that is emotional, and other times it's empowering. So the hip openers, right, help us to feel. And take another big breath. Inside out. And walk it on up. And if you are doing Sukhasana, we'll bring left ankle in front. Up on your sits bones, and you can rock or move if this is a little too much on your hips, or start to walk forward. That left hip is always tighter for me. Just a few more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. And then bring it on up. Now, if you want to stay on this side, you can do that or switch your seat. We're going to do a few minutes of alternate nostril breath before Shavasana. That is a great breath for balancing the mind, calming. So it's a really good breath for this particular cycle we're in. So you can sit comfortably any way you want. You can take, if you're dominant right hand, you can do the right hand. Otherwise, you can adjust this for your body. But for me, since I'm dominant right hand, I'm going to take my left hand, bring my index finger and thumb to touch, and then flip the palm for Jnana Mudra, which is our mudra of knowledge, of the mind, so that recollection. And then with the right hand, I'm just going to fold my middle 3 fingers down. There's lots of different mudras and variations for this breath. So if you have one that your memory prefers, you can do that. Take the hands towards the face, exhale out both nostrils. We'll start by closing off the right with the thumb and inhaling left. So we're going to start with the lunar side. Inhale left. Hold at the top, close off both nostrils, and you'll exhale out the right. At the bottom of the exhale, you'll inhale right. Then you'll close off, hold both. You'll exhale left. You'll completely empty out that exhale on the left. Then you'll inhale left. Close off both and continue. So you're exhaling completely and then inhaling on the same side, holding both, then exhaling completely and inhaling on that other side. And again, there's a few different ways to teach this. So like I said, you can practice that Smriti here too. But this is great for simple headaches, which can happen when there's a lot of fire and air energy swirling. But balancing the right and left hemispheres of the brain, helping us to switch the dominant nostril, which again can just really allow us to have that more mindful space. Space to respond, space to recollect. Remember who we are, remember what we want, remember how we want to feel on the way there. Keep your eyes soft. See if you can go for a few more rounds. If you have some sinus challenges and this is uncomfortable, you can do what we call psychic nadi shodhana, which is where you just imagine inhaling and exhaling up the nostrils, imagining you're breathing up to the third eye from that side. And I actually find it to be pretty effective because I have some recurring sinus stuff. So sometimes I do that. Because it is, again, it's about mindfulness. It's about where we bring our attention. And this is a great breath for this week and this entire month in general, in the Gemini cycle we're in. And this is a very common breath that people will do before and after meditation so that they're in that mindful place. But really any breathing practices. And on Wednesday, or really anytime this week, if you actually want to do some writing out of outdated belief systems, outdated thoughts, and then you can kind of burn those safely, of course, especially if you're in Southern California. And then you're also doing some writing of your bhavana, writing that, remembering the future as you want it to be, and sounds silly, but even reading that out loud on the full moon and offering that energy out. Because this is a very powerful work to connect to our memory, to connect to our beliefs, our stories. The next time you exhale out the left nostril, go ahead and release. And just for a moment, see if you can take in this feeling, usually that feeling after moving, pranayama. Usually there's a sweet spot, but maybe not today, and that's okay. But that is part of Smriti too, is in the present. Again, when we have these moments that feel really good, we feel really connected, we want to pause and remember them, be mindful that they're happening. So many people life just passes by and they miss out on those moments, whether high vibration or low vibration. So part of this practice this week is to notice the moments, the ones that you want to really keep with you, and then the ones that you're ready to let go of. Take a deep breath in and release. Give it a little shake. You can stay in meditation for the next few minutes, or you can come into Shavasana. Once again, finishing the practice in Yogi's Choice. Lying on the earth with support, any other props, remembering, right, how you like to be held by the earth, breathed. We'll just take a few minutes here, adding our memories of this practice to the memories of our practice. Though Smriti is often translated as memory, it can aptly be described as recollection. When we recollect or gather our scattered thoughts and half-forgotten experiences, directing them with a singular focus, we develop a continual state of awareness known as mindfulness. Sometimes Smriti means a constant awareness of divine realities, a continual keeping in mind the principles of spiritual life, and especially remembering to maintain commitment to the path. Om Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purveka Hitarasham. Om Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purveka Hitarasham. Om Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purveka Hitarasham. Om. Come into the breath, the body, and the memory. And I was going to wait to chant the sutra till we'd finished so that you had a context for all the words. But in my Smriti of yoga, there's something about the Sanskrit that does trigger this recollection, whether it's a cellular thing or just a vibration of language in our bodies. Whenever I hear Sanskrit, especially chanted, which it was always intended to be chanted, because again, the vibration in our body, in our organs, there's a memory, right? And so whether the language makes sense or not, for me, chanting helps to awaken that, helps to deepen and seal this knowing, this mindfulness, this remembrance. And maybe that's not true for you, and that's okay, because again, it's a personal path. And may we continue to utilize these tools and virtues to support our path, to support our goals, to support our journey. Take a big, big, big breath in, hold at the top, open mouth, exhale. Again, bring movement back, wiggle, stretch, rock and roll. Remembering this pathway of the body and breath. And as we move into this, it's kind of an intense week with the energetics of it, but we have tools, we have virtues that we cultivate, that we explore. And this is a moon of story, of belief. And we can work with that to hone and harness the stories and visions we want to have for ourselves and the future. If you'd like to find a seat and join me to close the practice, you can bring the hands to prayer and again, touch your thumbs to the third eye, or just place the hands in a way that feels good. And we bow to the retentive power of Smriti. May it serve us well at this time. Take a big breath in and out. And you can join me for a final Om if you'd like. Inhale. I bow to you. Thank you for practicing. Namaste.